This is it, the last one, the final episode by episode for Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and I've had so much fun talking about this. I've had so much fun talking about it in the comments below, and Season 7, as expected, is the most divisive. I'm getting that, I'm seeing that in the comments, but it's fun to see different sides of things. It's fun to see why people didn't like this, and why people do. So yeah, keep talking to me in the comments, even when this series has stopped. Go back and comment on the other videos as well, because I'm always happy to talk Buffy. But for now, let's wrap this show up.
Put the button back in the box.
Straight back into it then with Potential. So Potential is an episode that I think has quite a few things going for it. It's very potential heavy, as you could probably tell from the title being Potential. So it's much more focused on them than it is the core cast, which is something someone's mentioned in the comments as a problem with this season, and I agree. I said that in the first one as well. I do wish the core cast had got more to do. But this is a good one for Dawn. Dawn is, and Xander actually, but Dawn is the main one who steps up here. She's the focus of the main cast of the episode. And I kind of like the fact that she's not a potential Slayer. It would have been very, very easy to make her a potential. In fact, everybody just assumed it would happen. I remember watching it thinking, well, it's going to be Dawn, isn't it? And then the twist that it's not Dawn, really done well. But the best thing is shown how much Dawn's grown as a character. Because Xander says it best. That speech at the end between Xander and Dawn, one of my favourite speeches on this show, and one of my favourite Xander moments. Like, he's been a douche lately, last season. But it's so nice to see this side of Xander again, the one who's caring for Dawn, the one who wants her to know how important she is, and that he understands what she's going through. It's such a beautifully done moment, but he's right, because Dawn does essentially hand over that power, even if it wasn't hers. She doesn't sulk about it, she doesn't moan about it. She just accepts that's what it is and moves on, and it's a really nice moment for Dawn. I've said it before, but Dawn for me is so much better in Season 7 than she had been in 5 and 6. It's a real growth for her, and it's almost a shame that this is the final season, because I'd love to have seen where Dawn could have gone. I think Michelle Trachtenberg was getting so much better into the role as things went on. And yeah, just a really, really good one for her. And I enjoyed the fight as well. I think the Bringers are suitably creepy. I like the fight at the school, Buffy and Spike fighting together, that was good fun. And I enjoyed the little training sequence at the start as well, with the potentials facing off against Spike. Spike being used in this way is good. It's kind of refreshing and a big sort of example of how much he's changed since he's got a soul. The Killer in Me. Do you know, with this episode, performance-wise, I think it's great. Alison Hannigan is so good as Willow in this one. She does such a great job with the material. Adam Bush, as well, is so good as Warren. As horrible as the character of Warren is, Adam Bush is such a great actor. There's something weirdly likeable about him because of how Adam portrays him. And yeah, this isn't the actual Warren, but he does a great job here as well. He does a great job at just showing this decline into madness and evil again. I just love the performances, but just the story itself doesn't quite work for me. This was the return of Amy again. I felt like she should have been given more to do. It was a shame to see her kind of become a generic villain, which is what she is here, really. I kind of like more from that. There was always more of a line with Amy, but she's kind of going full over here. We don't really get to see that play out, but yeah, a bit of a shame. And as for Willow and Kennedy, it's a bit soon, isn't it? Like, Tara was like the love of Willow's life, and she's not even been dead a season yet. I don't know why it felt necessary to have Willow in another relationship. I really don't. So I can't buy into Willow and Kennedy as a couple, and it's nothing to do with the performances. I think the performances from both actresses really, really works, but just the relationship itself, it's too soon. It feels far too soon to have Tara, not necessarily replaced, but to just have Willow try to move on. And there's so much going on in this season, so much busy stuff happening, and such a great arc for Willow with how she ends up. It's unnecessary. I don't feel it had a place. I do quite like the initiative stuff in this. It's great that the initiative is still being brought up, even all these seasons later, and it's an interesting bit for Spike as well. I think we needed something done with that chip. And to have Buffy be the one to make the decision, Riley sent the soldiers down as to whether they remove it or not because it's killing him. Yeah, it's a nice way, I think, to wrap up the Chip storyline and to show where Buffy and Spike are kind of headed with the relationship that they have with each other. So yeah, there are things I like about this episode, but just the main bulk of it, it's just got too many issues for me for it to be one that I really, really enjoy. First date. So this is an episode where there are certain things I like about it and certain things I don't, much like the last one. The Xander date arc on this doesn't really do a lot for me, him dating Ashanti. What happened to Ashanti? Does she still make music? The more I think about it, actually, I can't remember one song that she did. Again, she's fine in this one, actually. She's seems a fairly decent actress, and her and Xander do have a little bit of chemistry. But just the switch that she's evil again, it just feels a bit same old now for Buffy. How many times have we seen Xander get involved with somebody for it to turn bad? It happened so much in the early days of the show, and they weren't the most successful episodes either. Inca Mummy Girl wasn't great, Teacher's Pet wasn't great, and here we are with the same sort of thing happening again. I could do without it, if I'm honest with you. Nicholas Brendan's fine in the episode. There are some funny moments to be had from it. Anya's reaction to it is pretty fun. But yeah, didn't do a huge amount for me. The Buffy and Principal Wood stuff, that was more interesting. I don't really ever see them as a couple. Like, I didn't think they had that kind of chemistry between them. He's much more suited to Faith, as we see in a few episodes' time. But yeah, I liked the scenes. I thought they worked well together, and there were some interesting twists. The first, making his presence felt here, was pretty well done. It's Principal Wood's mum as well, showing her Nikki. That was fun. Having it appear to Andrew as Jonathan. Little twist that that Andrew isn't actually trying to kill anybody. He's fully turned to the side of good is a moment that Andrew needed. Particularly because we're about to have a really fun episode with him. We needed some kind of demonstration that he's a character that's on the right side, that can be trusted, and we got that here. So yeah, a mixed bag of an episode. Certain things I liked, certain things I didn't. Not awful by any stretch of the imagination, just fine. Get it done. The first Slayer, since we first saw her in Restless, has always been a character that's really, really fascinated me. There's just something very, very intriguing about where she is and her look, the way she conducts herself, and the whole Slayer mythology, actually. I wish we could have gone more into that on the show, because the touches that we got, such as here, were really, really fascinating. I loved seeing her again. I loved the ritual that was in play, and that vision that she gives Buffy, what a shocker of a moment that was the first time I saw it. The Turok Khan, the almost unkillable vampire, so we think. There's a lot of them inside the Hellmouth, all ready to break through and cause havoc, and that was... yeah, it was a real shocking moment. It was a really good cliffhanger, I think, for this episode. It kind of really upped the game. It made it seem that we were coming up to something really, really big. And to be fair, we are. Even if the Turok Khan themselves turned out to be a strange disappointment, it was still a shocking image that really helped make this feel like a big threat. And there's lots of interesting moments with this episode as well. Spike, it's a good one for him. I enjoyed him getting a bit of his swagger back and fighting the demon. The tension between him and Principal Wood, immediately obvious. Like, we can immediately tell there's... not very much love lost between the two of them, and they don't even know each other that well, or so we think. I think by this point we got the confirmation that Giles is actually Giles and not the first, so that was nice, because that was getting old. I'm glad. I can't remember if it is this episode or not, to be honest. As I said in the last video, a lot of these episodes bleed into one, but it's something I do need to address, so I'm glad that's out of the way. And a good one for Willow as well, showing that she can still use her powers, she can still use magic, and she still kind of treads a line between the things that she'll do. I mean, sucking the life from Anya and Kennedy, she doesn't kill them, admittedly. She seems to be more in control of it, but it still shows that she's very, very powerful, and that she's not given up on magic, even after everything it did. And that comes in handy, doesn't it, by the time the season wraps up. So, yeah, pretty good episode, I think, get it done. Storyteller. The last fun episode Buffy the Vampire Slayer ever did. There are fun elements to be had in future episodes, but this was the last mostly comedy one. And I think Andrew was a good choice to choose as the person to do this. Him telling his story and the way he conducts himself. Slayer of the Vampire, whatever it is he says. It's a lot of fun. Tom Lenk is a great actor. I've grown to love the character of Andrew a lot more in Season 7 than I did in 6. And episodes like this are a reason why. He has good interactions with the cast, and say he's a great deal of fun. The way he tells his stories, the way those stories are shown to us, the way they're shot, just all whimsical and fun. Just a really, really funny sequence of events. But what I like the most about it is that there's some real dramatic weight to be had here as well. I said that Tom Lenk was great in the comedy moments. He gets some really serious and emotional stuff to work with here, and he nails it. The end sequence between him and Buffy is so well done. It's so good. I genuinely felt for Andrew, and I hadn't felt for him up until this point. But I did. I kind of felt really bad for him. He's done some dickish things, yeah, but he doesn't feel good about it. And you can tell from this. He's torn up, and he's messed up, and he's miserable. And it's what everybody else, particularly Buffy, needed to see from him to show that they can trust him. We saw it in the last episode. She needs to see it here. And such a nice ending to the episode as well. I say nice, but it was nicely done. Andrew saying that he deserves to die and shutting that camera. Just a really, really nice moment. And I enjoy seeing what sort of the reawakening of the Hellmouth is doing to Sunnydale. The students going nuts. Yeah, a lot of fun to be had from that. And it's what I said about how it feels like it's building something up, Season 7. It's getting somewhere. The Hellmouth is having this effect. It is changing Sunnydale forever. They don't quite know how much it's going to change, but you can see it happening. You can see it coming into play with sort of Buffy, Principal Wood, Spike, and everybody trying to fight these things off. Lies my parents told me. So this was the disturbing one about Spike's mum trying to have sex with him. Ugh. Thankfully, there's a lot more to it than that one disturbing moment. Spike flashbacks are always very interesting ones, and this is perhaps one of the most interesting that he's done. It's so fascinating seeing this part of William, as he was then, the relationship he had with his mother and how horrible that became after he was turned and turned her. Very, very disturbing stuff. Beautifully played by James Master. So he handles so many different facets of Spike's character in this one brilliantly. In the past with Drusilla, great to see Juliet Landau again, and in the modern day as well. Solid episode for James Masters. He handles everything thrown at him in this one brilliantly well. As does everybody really, because there's some dark stuff. Giles betraying Buffy by setting up Spike to die. I don't quite know how I feel about that. I still don't, all these years later. I sort of get it, that Giles is understanding the seriousness of what's going on, and he doesn't think that Buffy can. He thinks that Buffy's blinded by it. He's still in that leadership role, even though he's not anymore. Buffy's more than proven herself capable of doing things on her own, and she has been doing things on her own. But he still can't help but be the watcher, be the one who thinks he's doing the right thing, even if he's not. So I don't think it's cut and dry. It's a very grey area. I am definitely more on Buffy's side than I am Giles, but you can see why Giles would do what he did. The fight between Wood and Spike is really well done. It's just a really dramatic sequence between those two. Look, we've had a few episodes now to see that tension building up, and here it just explodes, and it's just electrifying to see. This changes things for quite a lot of people. Buffy and Giles' relationship doesn't get sorted out for a while. It, if anything, brings Spike and Buffy closer together. Principal Wood finds himself on the out for the way that he's going, but I like that there's so many different things going on, and there's so many different people with agendas, but you can kind of get all of them. But for Principal Wood, Spike killed his mum. Like, it doesn't matter to him that Spike has a soul again now. He's not there. Like, he doesn't see that. He just wants vengeance. And yeah, you get it. Even if he's doing the wrong thing in the wrong way, you understand why he is. That's the same for me with Giles. It's the same with Spike. I kind of understand everybody's viewpoints here, and I can sympathise with them. I don't agree with them all, but I can see why they're doing them, and that's what makes this such a fascinating episode for me. And hey, Willow takes off to go see Fred after the call from Angel, and we'll be touching on that episode Orpheus whenever it is I get around to doing the Angel episodes. It'll be one of the shows that I do, I say soon. These take quite a while to do, but it won't be the next show, but it'll be coming at some point, because I feel like I'm a bit Buffy talked out at the moment, at least for making videos. I'll still talk about them in the comments, but yeah, I don't want to jump straight into Angel. I'd like to do something else in between, which I believe is still going to be Friends. That's still my plan. But I'm digressing. Yeah, just a nice little crossover moment there. Dirty Girls. Goodbye, Sanders Eye. It's been a pleasure. Nathan Fillion is one of my favourite actors, I think. I don't know if you've seen The Rookie, the new show that he's done. I really like it. I think he's really good. There's just something about Nathan Fillion that just makes me want to watch him. And even when he's playing an evil psychopathic dick, which he is in this one, Caleb, not a cool guy at all, I still like him because he's Nathan Fillion. I'm a bit blinded by the Fillion. It's fairly obvious from his first scene that this is not a nice Nathan Fillion character at all. Caleb is as bad as they come, and he's sort of necessary because as much as I loved the first, and I really am a fan of the villain this season, I love the way it works and manipulates people, it's fascinating. A bit difficult though when it can't touch people. So it needed that vessel, it needed somebody that was a physical threat. Just so there could be actual physical fights with something to do with the first. We've got the Turok Khan and the Bringers, yeah, but there's not a distinguishable person for them to fight. Caleb, he fills that void perfectly. And yeah, terrifying, menacing villain. The way he is with that potential Slayer at the start, burning her, just so sinister. And he takes out Xander's eye. This whole episode feels like it's building to something awesome. And it is. That whole fight scene where everything goes wrong, them going on the attack and realising they've been set up, it's just done really, really well. I remember the first time I watched it being genuinely worried whether these characters would get out of this in one piece, and they didn't. Potential Slayers died, Xander loses an eye, like it's a big deal. This is things going horribly, horribly wrong. Elsewhere in the episode, Faith's back, and she fits in pretty perfectly. It's nice to have Eliza Dushku back. She's just done Angel, as again I said, I'm going to touch on that at some point. But here she is back in the Buffy fold again after quite some time, and it's like she's never been away. Her and Willow, it's nice to see them getting on now, and it's good to see Faith interacting with lots of people. Her and Spike have some great moments between them, referencing the fact that they've met before, even though at the time Spike didn't know it. Buffy is, as you would expect Buffy to be, about having Faith around. She's not dealing with it overly well, but it's nice drama, and it's good to see this aspect of Faith. It's good to see that she is good, again, like she is a nice person again, but at the same time there's that unpredictability about her. There's still that wild side that the character of Faith never loses. And man, I really wish we got that Faith spin-off. Really do. I want more Faith. But yeah, overall this is a solid episode. It's kind of the final stretch now. All of these episodes do, as I said, feel like they blend into one another. particularly in these last few. But yeah, the tension's ramped up, the stakes are just as high as they've ever been, and this was a great episode. Empty places. This episode pissed me off. A lot of the complaints I see about Season 7, I don't agree with all of them, but there are a lot of them where I do see where people are coming from. This one in particular, it just annoyed me that, yeah, Buffy organised that attack, and it all went horribly wrong. I mean, yeah, Buffy organised that attack, and it all went horribly wrong, but to have everybody turn on Buffy and kick her out now, it feels so forced. It feels like such a manufactured problem, such a manufactured argument. It didn't need to be here, and it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right that characters like Giles in particular and Willow and everybody are fine with Buffy going. They would never be. And these potential slayers, you're in Buffy's house. You get the fuck out. It wound me up so much that we had this at this point in the season. It's one of my biggest problems with Season 7 is this whole kicking Buffy out aspect. Let's say it's forced. It feels shoehorned in. It doesn't feel like it naturally got to this point. It was just there to create some drama. And I hate it when shows do that. And Buffy is normally better than that. Really didn't. I don't know if you could tell. I really didn't like that aspect of this episode at all. But there is fun to be had elsewhere in the episode. Faith taking everybody out dancing is very Faith. It's typically her. It's what you'd expect her to do. And Buffy does come across as the miserable one in this. She doesn't allow the potentials to have any kind of fun whatsoever. She's so focused on the mission. She needs to be. And it kind of does show that if Buffy and Faith were able to sort of team up as leaders, they both have different elements that they could bring. They could both be very, very good leaders together. But I don't think either of them are ever going to be at that stage in their friendship. But yeah, no, it was fun to see Faith let loose and to let the potentials let loose alongside her. The police fight was, yeah, it was fine. It was okay. I did really enjoy as well the citizens of Sunnydale fleeing. It's got to the point now where they know that bad things are happening. It's no secret. It's not been a secret for a while in Sunnydale, but now we get absolute proof that everybody knows about it. Everybody knows something horrible is coming and people are leaving en masse. Farewell, Clem. Miss you. Oh, and Spike and Andrew, great double act as well. So much fun. I keep saying this, but whenever the show puts two people together you wouldn't expect to be together, it nearly always works brilliantly, and Spike and Andrew on that bike always makes me laugh. Touched. Probably one of the weaker episodes, I think, in the back half of the season. It slows things down a lot, and I understand why it does, because this is the last chance to slow things down. As of the next episode, it's the final 2 ever for Buffy, in this incarnation anyway. We've heard it might be coming back. But for this version of Buffy, that's it. So this is the last slow time. This is the last time to have a bit of a breather before we get into the final couple of episodes. But it's not that exciting. I like certain elements of it. Buffy and Spike scenes together are sweet. I like the two of them here. It's good that Spike is so passionately on Buffy's side that he kicks off at everybody for making her leave. And good on you, Spike, because they were all dickheads. Like, they shouldn't have done that at all. So it's good to see Spike's got Buffy's corner. I did like that we got the mayor back as well, even though it's not the mayor. It's the first interpretation of the mayor, but it's always great to see him. And it was a nice scene between him and Faith. I know, again, I kind of wish it was him. That is the problem. Whenever you see them pop up on the screen, you're like, it's the mayor, but you have to remind yourself, no, it's not. But either way, yeah, good to see him. And then everybody does sex. Faith and Wood, yeah, fine. Willow and Kennedy, yeah, I say I'm not really into that particular relationship at all, but yeah, it's nice. Apparently the first ever lesbian sex scene on TV, so, well done. And Xander and Anya go at it again. I don't think Xander has the right to go near Anya after the way he treated her, but fine. Again, I didn't really invest in any of these pairings, to be honest. I like Faith and Wood, but we're so late in the game now that it's hard to really invest in them as a couple. But yeah, I liked that. The rest of it, though, it's quite a schmaltzy episode when you think about it, wasn't it? As I say, it's a breather. The show's allowed to slow down a little bit with what's to come, but I just wish it was a little bit more exciting with how it did it. Oh, and ending the episode literally on a ticking bomb is way too blatant a cliffhanger. I don't like it when shows do that. It's a very obvious, cheap way to do a cliffhanger. The more I think about it, the more I don't really care for this episode. End of days. Buffy has the scythe. Let's be honest, the scythe is very convenient, isn't it? It's a very convenient weapon for them to come across and find, this magical scythe. But it works. They had to do something. We were running out of time. One more episode after this, we needed some sort of weapon. Something powerful enough to be able to give Buffy and everybody the advantage. So I'll let it slide, but yeah, mighty convenient discovery, that. But this fixes some things. Buffy makes up with everybody again, which is good, because they shouldn't have fallen out in the first place. And it's nice to see. It's not given too much attention, but it's It's done in a way that I'm comfortable with. Buffy needed to get back into the fold quickly. They couldn't extend it out over another episode, and I'm happy enough with how they did it. I'm happy that's all behind us now. We can get everybody back together again. And this episode actually does have a lot of things going for it. Anya and Andrew, again, another pairing that just works. The two of them sort of battling in a wheelchair at a hospital, just great fun. And Xander taking Dawn. Xander chloroforming Dawn and taking her away at Buffy's request. You get it. You get why Buffy's done that. It's a bit of a dick move. It definitely is, but it's understandable. Dawn's the only actual family that Buffy's got left, so she wants her safe. She wants her out of harm's way, and good on Dawn for fighting back and making sure that didn't happen. I loved Michelle Trachtenberg there, and I liked Xander in it as well. Even though he was doing some chloroforming, he was at Buffy's request. He was trying to do a good thing, so I didn't really have any objections to anything anybody did in this one, and I liked the way Dawn handled it. And then there's the ending. Buffy and Caleb's fight, and it's a great fight. It's an awesome fight, made even better by the appearance of Angel. It was just such a brilliant entrance for him. Angel had to show up at least one more time before the show wrapped up. We need another him and Buffy scene. I don't know how I feel about them kissing straight away. That seemed a bit weird. Like, they've been broken up for quite some time now, and Spike observing it was a bit of a soap opera way to end the episode, but it was good. It was effective. Chosen. Here we are, the final episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and for the most part, I think this is a very solid way to end this show. I'll start with what I didn't like first, because there's not much. The effects, they were biting off more than they could chew with the budget they had. Sunnydale's destruction doesn't look great, particularly when Buffy's running across those roofs. It looks very fake. It does take me out of it a little bit because it's so poor. But yeah, other than that, I love this episode. I love it so... Oh wait, no, there's one more. There's one more thing I've been wanting to talk about for ages. The Turok Khan. These unkillable, almost, things that took so much to kill just one of them now get torn down like flies. How is that a thing? Yeah, Buffy's got the scythe, but the others don't. The others, when they get their Slayer powers, are Slayers, but so is Buffy when she was taking on one before, and it was a lot more difficult than this. It's a cop-out. A massive cop-out, because we had this, hundreds of them in the Hellmouth, only to find out that, they're a lot weaker. For no reason. It's not explained. They're just all of a sudden weaker, or everybody's all of a sudden stronger. And as I say, I get they're stronger because they're Slayers, but these things should still be more difficult to kill than they are. But those two things, I'm pretty sure that's only two now, are the only problems I have. Chosen is a wonderful send-off for this show, because the whole way through this, it feels like the end. Everybody preparing for the final battle. There's just this sense of dread hanging over for the whole first half of this, that just is so effective. It's so effective at making it seem just how big this battle's going to be. And it's a big battle. It is huge. And it's a lot of fun. It's exciting. Seeing them all descend into the Hellmouth, taking these things on despite the problems I have with the Turok Khan being easily killable. It's still epic. The music, perfect. The score for the final battle is one of my favourite scores for Buffy. I can just listen to that piece of music so much. And then there's Willow doing her spell and making everybody a Slayer. Just a nice bow to put on this series. It's why I'm worried about it coming back in any form, because this is a natural end, I think. Buffy was the chosen one throughout almost the whole of the show, with the Faith and Kendra exception. Now, there's so many Slayers about, she's not the chosen one anymore. She can live a normal life. What better way to end this show? And it's epically done as well. The speech she gives, one of Buffy's many speeches that I'm always a fan of, cut with the girls gaining their Slayer power, just gives me chills. Like, the first time I watched it, I got a little bit upset. I got a little bit emotional because I was just so invested in what was happening. And yet, so good to see Willow turn white like that after how evil she looked before. This was like Goddess Willow. And she's earned that. She has earned that moment after everything that character's been through. Some characters don't get quite the level of closure as people like Buffy and Willow do. Like, Xander doesn't have that much to do. He's still an integral part of this. Like, he's still there for that great scene with him, Buffy, Willow and Giles replicating the scene from the first episode. So he's still there, but he doesn't have anything really of his own. More than just reacting from Anya's death. That's kind of the main thing he gets. And speaking of which, Anya's death gets a lot of hate from what I've seen, but I really like it. Like, I don't like the fact she died, because I love Anya, but people said it should have been given more focus. I actually like the fact that it was just right in the middle of a battle, just a really quick moment, because that's how it would be. A, there wasn't the time to give her like a 5-minute death scene, and B, it would be a lot less effective, I think, if it hadn't happened the way it did. Because I just remember every time I watch it, there's so much stuff happening, and then the knife goes through, and it's just, whoa, what just happened? And seeing her body on the floor afterwards, yeah, it's quick. I can understand why it would annoy some, but for me, it really worked. There's just so many things about this episode that I love that I can't list them all. I've got to talk about Spike, though. His death scene, yeah, cheapened a little bit by the fact he comes back, but it's a different show. But his death here is perfect. It's perfectly done. I love the fact that Buffy says I love you and he knows that she doesn't. It's such a Joss Whedon way to turn it on its head. No you don't, but thanks for saying it. What a great line. And just see him burning up while he's laughing. Kind of, a part of me wishes he hadn't come back in Angel. As much as I love Spike in the 5th season of Angel, this would have been such a great final note for him. I love it. And again, the music. If you haven't listened to the score from this in a while, it must be on Spotify or something, just play it. It's so good. I must be missing things. I must be missing important moments here. But as I say, there's just too much to talk about with this episode to not have a 5-hour-long video. But I love it. I love the ending. Dawn's final line of the whole show. What are we going to do now? And just ending on Buffy smiling as the ruins of Sunnydale lay beneath her. Perfect. Yeah, I don't care what people say about this one. I absolutely love it. I couldn't think of a way to end this show better. And we're done. That's every single episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer briefly reviewed. My thoughts on each and every single one of them, and I've really loved doing it. Do let me know in the comments what you think about these episodes as before, and say if you're late to this, if you've just turned up for this video or the last, go back and watch the other ones and comment on those as well. Let's keep talking Buffy. My time doing Buffy videos isn't over. There's going to be a top 10 worst and a top 10 best episode list coming at some point. I don't know when I'm going to do them. I think I'm going to start the new episode by episode first and then kind of drop them in later, because I don't want to just draw a line under Buffy. I want to have Buffy videos to look forward to doing, and I'm sure there'll be more after that as well. So if you've subscribed to the channel for Buffy, there'll be more Buffy content. And feel free to suggest videos you'd like me to do as well, because I'm happy to keep talking about it. Let's say the next episode by episode looks like it's going to be Friends. So if you're a Friends fan, let me know in the comment as well what your favourite episode of that is. It's been a long time since I've watched them. I don't know if they'll come along as quickly as the Buffy ones, because Buffy I know off by heart, and a lot of the Friends episodes I do as well, but I'm going to have to rewatch them all. And I'm quite excited to as well. It's been a while since I've done a Friends video, and a very different show to talk about as well. Yeah, I'm excited to get going on that one. But do let me know other shows that you'd like me to do episode by episode for as well. I'm trying a little list of shows that I want to do as they go on. TV-wise, there'll be full seasons reviews when shows wrap up. As of now, really, I want to start doing more of them, so plenty of TV content to come, as well as the movie reviews as well. But thank you very much for not just watching this video, but for all of the other episodes as well. Thank you for talking in the comments to say, keep doing it, let's keep chatting about this show, and let's hope if this reboot happens, it's as good as this, or even half as. I'll take 20% as good as the original Buffy, because it's a fantastic show, and I'm looking forward to talking about Angel at some point very soon as well. Do follow me on Twitter. My name's Joe Julians on there, at Joe Julians. Also my name on Stardust. Feel free to follow me on there as well. So do hit like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more. Thank you once again for watching, and I will see you on the next video.